watched the match between Vishwanathan and Magnus Carlsen, you probably noticed that they had a very interesting chess set they were playing with. This actually was designed especially for that 2013 championship cycle. It was, you can see right here on the box, championship chess set officially approved by FIDE, the World Chess Federation, and back here it mentions the exclusive distributor is Studio Anne Carlton, very famous maker of chess pieces for a long time. So I want to show you this because you can get these now. It's different, and let's look at all the details. First of all, it comes in this really solid box. You know, this is like, you know, professional stuff here. They're making these for, you know, serious players and serious chess fans. Top slides off. It's got pictures, by the way, of the whites and the blacks. Very nicely designed little sleeve. Okay, inside this is really like, it's like a heavy cardboard box, and voila, what do we have but the Chessmen. Now I find this interesting. They're put in here in these little paper, like sort of hard, stiff paper containers. I say paper, but it's more like what you call a cardboard. Here you go, and already you can see the knights, which are especially interesting in a lot of sets. Well, the set with these knights is a bit different. Here you go. So they come in these containers. See, there's the box. Really sturdy container. You know, these things are made to be, you know, for serious use and collector's items and serious tournaments and all that. And you got to have one. I know I do. So, as I'm going to show you, these are these little paper housings that fold out. I can feel they're well weighted. You can feel the weight is like concentrated in the bottom of the piece there. So let's get these guys out real quick. Here, while I'm getting them out, you just stare at all these beautiful pieces. I especially want to draw your attention to the knight, of course. That's unusual in the way that the neck swoops way back like this. They're simplified, you know, a simple sort of blocked out geometric pattern, and that's typical of what's become the international style. I've got some other pieces to compare these to so you can see what I'm talking about when I talk about how they've changed this in relation to other sets. And here are the white pieces. You'll notice that they have this smooth sort of flare on the bottom of the pieces. You notice the bishop is flattened on the top. See that? Just flattened. And it also has a kind of a slender feeling. If you look at a few different bishops, you'll see that although they're very much this standard Staunton design, just these small changes in curves give them very different feels. Okay, so let's just set these guys up. For instance, I'll put the black ones right here. Put the white ones over here. And yes, of course, we are getting the pawns out too. There. Now, if you've watched the World Championship, then you've looked at these a lot. You know, even the pawns, very interesting. You know, they're standard, but certain things like the collar here is very thin. The piece itself is a little on the slender side. Yeah. See what I'm doing? I pull the tab out, and then the piece comes out. It's a bit much to handle, but it's worth it for a great set like this. One of the things about the history of chess is that every time period, every tournament sort of has its own style. The styles are usually based on the nationality, like the national designs of the places where the tournament's been being played, or of course if it's a match, it has to be a set that both contestants are comfortable with. And I was really pleased to find that they had made this set especially for this tournament cycle, because it shows how things are continuing to evolve in the world of chess design. So let's look at the king here. See the specific lines down here? Really gives a feeling of a traditional headdress. I think it's an Indian kind of style, which would be particularly respectful to the standing champion Anand, who was going into the match in his hometown in Chennai, India. Let's look at the knight really closely. You see it's got the mane with the detailed markings there. It's actually, although it's simple, like simplified, it's got some very nice curves defined on it. Very interesting details of the cut, indicating the horse's mouth, the nostrils, where the eyes go. So it's a very deliberate compromise between something of character and something simple and geometric. I compare these to other sets that have been used in matches. This is a typical international style set. Here, let me just move these guys back a little bit. This is a typical international set, and these are often called German knights. You see, they also are characterized by simplicity and sort of being blocked out. However, they really have a considerably different character from the new 2013 design. This one's got more of a curve. It's got this very characteristic cut into the neck that gives the whole piece a large curve feeling that doesn't appear in most knights. Probably the thing that characterizes this new design most of all. And of course this set also has considerably different styling in the other pieces as well. A typical design that's been used for a long time is this the way the base kind of flows out to sort of bulges out at the bottom, and that was deliberately kind of simplified in these pieces. Let's see if I can look at the pawns with you. Yeah, you see how this one's kind of squat at the bottom. This one really kind of gives a flared out feeling. Overall, the pieces feel like they stand tall on the chessboard. You may have noticed that just looking at them during the match. If you saw any pictures or video, the match was put out on the internet, and of course many places covered it. Now this for comparison was a set that was used for the 1972 World Championship between Fischer and Spassky. Now, of course, this isn't the actual set, but these pieces are designed to represent that style. So you see very considerable differences. Here, I'll show you this is much more what we consider standard in tournaments in the U.S., although internationally for many years this has been the standard. Now, setting a new standard. But yeah, these of course are much more detailed, much more look like actual horse heads. They have a kind of an attitude, a sort of fierce attitude. They're simplifications, you know, circle for the eye, but they have indentations here for the sides of the neck. You know, much more sculpted. You know, this style is very deliberately streamlined. And comparing the pawns again. Now look at the great difference here. These pawns are very squat. You know, like sort of like squat, pushed down into their bases. These, you know, stand tall. And as I mentioned before, look how thin this collar is. That's really quite unusual. This is thin too, but this is like very like wafer thin. It's kind of like the rings of Saturn. Let's see. Rooks. Yeah. Kings, very interesting the way they have chosen to do this king. Bases had that same difference, but the crown of the king is sort of also becoming abstracted. It's less and less of a cross, more of a sort of a symbol, almost like a banner of the king there. Now let's look at some of the details of this set. It's always very interesting to know exactly what the greatest chess players in the world are using. This king is, I'm getting it at 3 5/8 inch high. I'm getting the base at 1.5 inches. Metric wise, that would be 3 and 3.7 centimeters, and I'm getting here about 9.5 or 9.6 centimeters tall. This board that I'm putting them on right here, this happens to be a board of 5.2 centimeter squares. That's just a little bit over 2 and about over 2 inches. It's about 2 and 1/16 inch squares. Now, I was wondering, of course, what the actual size of the squares were that were used in the World Championship match. So I took some pictures off the internet, and I, you know, drew lines and measured everything to define exactly, like how, comparing the base to the size of the square, comparing the height to the size of the square, and using using some basic proportional equations. I figured that the actual board they were using must have been a board of 5.5 centimeter squares. Just a little bit bigger squares than what I have here. But of course, I do have boards available that I sell which are much more close to the exact dimensions and style of the internationally famous tournament set. So here we have it. Just like to put them on the board here for you for a minute. They have a very good feel, you know, very well weighted. And they're a bit more elegant, I think, than what we've been seeing in standard chess pieces for a while, which is a nice touch, nice change. Nice addition by Studio Anne Carlton to what's available in professional chess. So a lot of their games went like this. Oh, you know what? I've got this board set up with the square in the wrong corner, so I'm playing this backwards. I suddenly realized this feels backwards. Well, anyway, so be it. Let's not confuse us by playing too much more, but let's just look at every piece here. Queens. Very nice top. Bishop, that slot of course goes all the way through. The flat thing is what characterizes it. It also has a particularly narrow collar here. Knights, of course, is what we usually focus on when we look at chess sets. Rook. This edge stands out more than most rooks. You may have noticed that looking at that. And of course, it's also got the tendencies towards slenderness. Very nice stylization. It's interesting the way they stylize the Staunton set. You know, it's got to be standard Staunton for you know, tournament play, but there's so much possible variation. It's always nice to see something new coming out of that and really going up into the upper echelons of chess tournaments.